Theo, thanks for tuning in. Sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I get a lot of downloads and activations while I'm driving, and I like to share them. But I want to start off with just a little bit of light language and then go into a little bit of an energy update. So let's do this. Te au stak ene amokuno te stek ine amokuno or stara hashtara or. Ki era andere he stera are te ro or indere aur ustara ha inda. Ki era andere he stek era ar ind arhuk ur. Tiendur ostenda ak era istestra indere haur in era ur. Tiera aster ak in the or in the or istin der hak or. Kor endere or stand ek har in de stra ak hor in kiendara hastra or indere ar et esta ak hand ak wrapped it within these codes, within this codex of languages, within this referential pattern, if you will, of language, of that which is linguistical operations from the expansiveness of all that we have been. I'm referencing me, all that I have been, and all that many have been. Door estok or et estran or ek har et esten or et istra or at endak ar. We pull through a linguistical pattern, if you will, a thread, a golden thread of frequency, combining many frequencies through this golden lineage. So I'm seeing a reference on a stoplight, so I can look at this now. I'm seeing a reference to the golden age. I'm seeing like this line of threads that's connecting many different frequencies and linguistics and beyond. Gur ishtarat ek ar astashtarak ar at indra. Kiendara or estashtara het ak or at endara hastek ia har at eastak ar at ak arohor at ende. So there are many different frequencies that are conveyed as we express these words. For they are not words, they are merely representations of energies that are formed in a bountiful binding, if you will, in the linguistic vocabulary beyond vocabulary. So this is a play on, essentially, this is a vocabulary that many of us know, many of us understand, many of us feel, but it's beyond this typical vocabulary that we're used to hearing, right? Ke este or end ast ur est anehera akar. Ki stestror tiendara ha est or dit ak este henda ak As we wrap these sounds and harmonics around a particular word patterning, if you will, sound patterning that is meant to be felt, not necessarily put together in a format that we use to convey conceptual knowledge, if you will. For we are sharing what is beyond the concept of point A to point B. We are sharing what is beyond the linear technology that many of us have used to communicate through the bandwidths, for we are deepening our, I'm hearing conjectivity, like a conjunction, like putting together things, but I'm also hearing objectivity. And as we step beyond these boundaries, if you will, as we step beyond these labels of what is the proper, I'm hearing proper nouns, the proper now, from one moment to the next. We allow ourselves to convey a deeper, I'm hearing conviction, a deeper convection, and I'm seeing that as a convex, like a lens on a film, right? Oashtak at indiri stara or ek har ok ur. Kuendaeti na o shto kuenete ki niamuku shto ten ki oahana. And just as you can flip-flop to different thoughts, from one thought to the next, from highs and lows, from I'm seeing like somebody who's happy and says it one minute and the next minute they're maybe expressing frustration about something, as we too can flip back and forth between different light linguistical displays in order to displace the energy, the frequency, I'm seeing plasma, the biofield, right? Around and through the chords, the vocal cords, the chords. I'm hearing, I'm seeing like the crystals in the ears. I'm hearing, so I'm being guided to kind of, I'm going to go back to this later. And we play with these words. I'm hearing chicken cordon bleu. Okay, now I'm seeing why. So I want to share this, you guys. This is a little bit of an energy update. I've really been this week having to trust. Just trust that what's coming through is genuine and helpful and true. And as long as I stay true to myself, I'm hearing stay true blue, right, to the blue. I have had blue sphere beings helping me all week. I've been seeing blue spheres of light. I have a feeling that's a part of my Andromedan, right? Getting emotional. That would be a yes. So this energy coming through, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is really trusting that we are making progress, that what we're doing is in alignment with, I'm seeing blue. Of course I always wear blue. Anyways, so I was guided to play with the words, and several times this week I've had readings that I've done for friends and have had words come through about a particular physical ailment or a particular synchronistic thing that I dreamed about, and I second guessed myself. And then they said what it was I had been thinking, but I didn't say it because I thought, oh, I don't know if this is, I blew it off because of my linear thinking, my logical comparison, thinking that can't be it. And this is an old lesson for me. And so I'm being reminded to share everybody what old lessons are coming up for us this week. What are some old beliefs about ourselves that are being exposed? What are we being reminded to go back and remember? Does that make sense? So for me, mine was remember, trust yourself, and here's why. And I was given these opportunities to see how I hadn't trusted myself or hadn't trusted the information coming through. I wouldn't say I wouldn't trust it. I took it and turned it into a linear concept so that I could label it. And I thought, no, that's not it. But it was, and it was a good reminder for me. So I'm sharing that as an energy update because that's coming up as a theme this week, inner trust. Also, reviewing things, remembering this week, I did have some magical experiences. I got into the habit of being so used to magic that I wasn't appreciating it and realizing everything is magic. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, everything has been magical this week, even though there were times when I was frustrated. I was frustrated because I had to wear a mask, and because of some of the things that are going on, I've had skin issues. By the way, common thing, by the way, guys, if you're experiencing skin issues right now, rashes, itchiness, very, very common. I'm going to call it purging, ascension symptoms, whatever we want to call it. It's not just you. Many of us are having reactions to the masks. Many of us are having reactions to just a lot of things that are happening, myself included. So I just wanted to share that as part of this energy update. So as I say chicken cordon bleu, I've been guided to get back to playing with my words a lot more, which is part of what I do in my writings. And what it does is it pulls through and it allows us, when we step outside of the box and when we when we essentially don't limit ourselves or say, oh no, that can't be right, that doesn't make any sense, that isn't lining up with my linear old way of thinking, 3D, we're not there anymore, we've moved on, so stop going back to the same sandbox to play in, is what I'm hearing. Recognize that we were in a completely different space. And the reason I'm sharing that is in part to recognize these old patterns. What is it called? Old habits die hard, right? Old patterns that are coming up to remind us, remember when, so that's something that's been coming through. So if I say chicken cordon bleu, I see cord on blue. I see a cord. I see cutting cords. I see a cord connected to this blue frequency, which is a higher frequency that's coming through. I'm seeing signals and signs right now. Holy moly. I just saw a 4-leaf clover, a star. Okay, so chicken, right? I'm hearing she can, chicken blue, chicken cordon bleu. If I put it all together, all I'm sharing here is that oftentimes the universe communicates with us in very non-linear ways, in a lot of ways that make us feel unsure that this is a message that we're getting, or not pay attention to it because we blow it off again. Oh, that is just, it's not magic. That isn't anything special. That doesn't mean anything. And sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does. And I was really reminded this week that symbols take on the meaning that we give them. So they can mean one thing for somebody, they can mean one thing for somebody else, that they mean different for us. And the power that we give symbols is essentially where do they come from? They come from us giving them power. And so playing with the way the universe is communicating with us is very important right now, and trusting that we are getting guidance. We are receiving the, information that's coming through. And not being afraid to play with this, because that's the key to much of this, is playing, is allowing ourselves to feel into the expansiveness of playing. Because this playing field has expanded, so too does our need to expand I had to park, was getting too distracted there. I had to focus on my driving or focus on this, so I'm focusing on this. But our playing field has expanded. Therefore, the way that we play with it needs to expand as well. Our communication, the way that we communicate, has expanded and is shifting. And the more we allow ourselves to expand into these possibilities, the more... okay, that's better. The more we can tap into these higher frequencies, these higher bandwidths, and play with it and recognize that our imagination is key. And a lot of times we get so caught up in these stories that we forget how to use our own imaginations to communicate with our own spirit guides, with our own higher self, right? Our own playing fields, so to speak, playing cards. We have a lot more cards sometimes than we think we have. We think they come in this little packet, but it's infinite. And so one of the biggest messages that I was reminded of politely this week was trust. There's going to be things. We had a solar flare, right? That was pretty significant, really high energy. We had okay, so we had a lot of things going on to help support us this week, to advance us, to get us into this higher space, this higher knowingness, which means light language can come through. Hand movements and mudras came through for me this week, as well as one of my other sisters, Candace, that I didn't even really talk with this week. And then I saw her speaking about it, which I will share the video that I saw that on, because she's... you might enjoy listening to her light language as well. Also, I'm trying to remember where I was going with the other. Oh, so it's pulling together all of these, and the chicken cordon bleu. I know that there's more that goes with this. Basically, play. Allow ourselves to feel into this field. The solar flare, I had a lot of people who had, I don't know what is going on here. I had a lot of people who had vertigo. I had a lot of people who had, one person fell, trouble sleeping, really deep sleep, but then waking up. A couple people I spoke with woke up at like 1 o'clock in the morning thinking it was 5 o'clock in the morning, which is that's opposite, right? That's a good thing. Usually it's the other way around, where we wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning thinking it's 1 o'clock in the morning going, I'm exhausted. There's been a shift, and this energy that's coming in every time there's solar flare or solar activity. I personally get really energized, really fired up after a bout of just being exhausted. It's almost like, so that's something else that I wanted to kind of update everybody on, in case you didn't notice. I had my mom ask me, she said, I really just felt out of sorts this week. And she said, how did she word it? And I realized that was a common thing for quite a few people that I had been connecting with, not just my mom. She had felt displaced, is the word that she said. And I really thought, wow, that is a key word right now, because a lot of people are feeling off. They feel like they're not quite sure where they fit in. And I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier about my healing work. I was reminded to trust, because a lot of the beings and a lot of the beings I've been working with this week, doing energy sessions with, or let's put it this way. When a healer works on someone who's a healer, and I want to go backwards, everybody can be a healer. There are a lot of, anybody can practice that healing modality in some way. We all have extrasensory abilities. We all have the potential to do Reiki or be telepathic or clairvoyant or clairaudient, if that's something that we've chosen to tap into. Not everybody has made that choice. Not everybody wants to tap into those energies. So the reason I'm sharing this is, this week, the people that have been drawn to work with me have been people who haven't tapped into those energies, but they're there, very strong. And I had to really question, okay, what's going on? Why? I'm finding that the density, the layers of it's not there like it was this week. And so I feel like there's been a really great purge for a lot of people. And sometimes, I talked about this in my last video, when you peel off a blanket, I think I talked about this in my last video. I don't know if I posted it. Anyways, when you peel off a blanket that we've been laying under, it can make us feel exposed. However, once we get used to the new temperature, so to speak, and once we get used to that feeling, then we're okay. But it takes some time to acclimate to that, getting that blanket pulled off, or seeing through the veil, or however we want to call it. But also, some people have a tendency to want to go put another blanket back on because they feel exposed or they're not used to it. And the question I was also invited to ask this week is, what blankets are we covering ourselves with in order to make us feel safe and secure? Our security blanket might have been a belief about a particular thing, a belief about ourselves, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're being invited to ask ourselves, what is it that I cover myself up with? For some, it's fear of being judged by others. And this could be about, I worked with someone this week and I knew she was intuitive. I knew that she knew she was intuitive, but she hadn't ever used it or told anybody about it, because let's face it, she came from a generation of her age group and the people that she's friends with that would have possibly frowned on that or called her a weirdo, right? And as all of us weirdos know, we are weirdo, we are the doers. We take, weirdos. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all weirdos. But the weirdos have really come around and said, yeah, I'm embracing it. Here I am. But not everybody, there's nothing wrong with that. That's been, people have that stigmata, right? The states of being different, because before we all had to fit in. So those are some of the people that I've been drawn to this week, or I've drawn to me, or they've drawn me to them, whatever it is. Those are the energies I'm matching with. And I'm seeing, wow, this is really fascinating. So this woman is, I'm seeing a sign that says upgrade your device. So I'm recognizing it's a battery. Hello, we're being recharged. Our batteries are being recharged, and that can make us sometimes feel, if we're used to feeling a certain way, again, back to that blanket, and then all of a sudden it feels different. Some people run for cover. Other people feel like displaced. So what can we shift into so that we feel a little bit more? So for myself, when I spoke with my mom, it was like, hey, do some things this week that just are fun. Again, it's that inner child. What is it that you're looking forward to this week? What is it that's bringing you joy and passion? It always comes back to that, doesn't it? Okay, so all the energies that are coming in, they are recharging our batteries, and so we can be productive. So we can be the doers. We are the doers. We are charging it so that we can create, activate, create, express, so on and so forth. And we're getting that energy boost that so many of us, I think, needed, right? It felt for me like, okay, this is great. I needed this. It's wonderful that it's coming through like this. I'm forgetting something, but we'll end on this note. So again, gentle reminder, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others. Not everybody understands that solar flares can cause vertigo, anxiousness. Oh, that's what I was going to bring up. Anxiousness, anxiety, lack of sleep. It can cause confusion. And, I didn't mention the full moon and all of that and the astrological alignments, but essentially the pot is being stirred. So the more we can find balance and harmony in ourselves, and I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning of the video and end on that note, all kinds of stuff is coming through. We're in a transition period, so to speak. And in this transition period, there can be a feeling of displacement. And I'm being guided to look up the word displacement. I don't know if I'll lose my camera though if I do that, but play with it. Maybe I'll share it on the description below what that word means. But I think that that's a key word. And sometimes, again, our environment, people who we talk to, our family and friends, provide triggers for us. They provide synchronicity for us. The universe is speaking to us through them. So that leads me back to what I was saying earlier about language. The universe speaks to us through symbols, synchronicity, and language, but it isn't necessarily just this is what the word means and that's it. We're being invited to use our extrasensory abilities and feel outside of the box. Again, reference to the sandbox, outside of time, timelessness, feeling into our roots, feeling into our sacredness, feeling into our heritage, our lines, our lineage. And I'm referring back to our DNA codons, right? Our DNA is turning on. We're getting a boost. So awesome. Being, recognizing that, acknowledging. That was the last message I wanted to share. That's what I was forgetting, is one of the biggest steps is acknowledging it. I feel a little off today. Maybe I should drink some more water. It's not a matter of when we acknowledge it, we then give it our awareness, and that can sometimes dissolve and help us to integrate whatever is being brought to the surface for us to recognize. So sometimes that's old habit patterns. Sometimes it is new gifts. Sometimes it is memories, right? Sometimes it's recognizing, for example, I was seeing a lot of blue spheres, which I see a lot of, but I was seeing a lot more. And if I wouldn't have stopped to acknowledge it, just like not remembering to remember your dreams. Sometimes you have to remember your dreams or we lose it. So this week I've had to stop and acknowledge, I forgot I've seen that like 5 times now. Oh yes, I remember. When was I seeing this before in my life? Oh yes, 3 years ago when I was going through an activation. Oh yes, I'm feeling very connected to Andromeda right now. Oh yes, I'm seeing a reference to Swan, and I could go on and on. I won't with all my synchronicities. I'm going to end on that note, but I'm hoping that you guys are kind of following where I'm going with this, and just recognize where you guys are at in all of this, and just acknowledge and feel into it. And some of these things that are being brought to the surface, the quicker we acknowledge it, that sometimes just it's that quick that something can be brought to the surface and it can be dissolved if it's necessary. Or it might be that we need to have a good cry and we don't know why. Oh, itchiness, right? Itchiness. My crown has been going crazy, itchy everywhere, actually. My back, my face. I think I already said that. But now I'm going to just end on this note for real. In love and light, guys. Namaste.